Do you remember when it seemed like The Fiend was going to go after Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and then all of a sudden none of that happened? Well, apparently it was part of the plan. Here we go. But coming courtesy of this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter and Uncle Dave Meltzer, after we were done with Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso round 1, we were never meant to get a round 2. We were going to go in a different direction, and yet we never did. Why? Here's why. So what was the plan before all of this? Well, it kind of ties into SummerSlam, because when the Tribal Chief returned to the hottest event of the summer and wrecked Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, as soon as he had wrapped up the family storyline that obviously did come afterwards, these two men were then going to seek their revenge. And I use the word men, but one is like a serial killer psychopath, and the other is just a dude who shouts and screams all the time. I mean, honestly, he needs to calm down. It was gonna culminate at Hell in a Cell, as Roman Reigns took on Braun Strowman, took on Bray Wyatt, and who was gonna take on a fourth guy. And I suppose in many ways, maybe that could have been Jey Uso. Maybe it would have been in that match where he went, "Oh, my Tribal Chief, I love you, I'm so sorry." And then he would have helped Roman to beat these two people. And yeah, I guess I can see how that all ties together. I don't think it would have been as good as what we would have gotten, and also it may have meant after that fact, we would have had to have done Jey Uso versus The Fiend. And I'm glad we didn't do that because my mind can't take it. Too much weird crap has already happened in 2020. I couldn't handle that. Bray Wyatt versus Jey Uso. I don't even know what the hell they would have done. Either way, it would have given Roman some tremendous wins, and that would have been good, but we didn't do that, and instead, we did a 180. Because not only did Reigns not track down Braun Strowman, not only did he not track down Bray Wyatt, they got sent to Raw. And if you want to know one of the reasons why WWE did that, is because they have officially decided that Bray Wyatt is a face. Eyebrow raising at first, but all things considered, if you want to start making the argument that The Fiend has been a good guy since day one, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, ever since he walked down the aisle at SummerSlam 2019 and tried to snap Finn Balor's head off, how could you not get behind this guy? He had a cool, scary looking mask, he was doing all these bizarre things that were intriguing, and it was the most creative thing that anybody had done in wrestling in ages. Who was going to see that as somebody that you were meant to boo, and who was going to see that as the villain? Even though he was doing evil things, that's not how heel wrestlers work in 2020. You just have to be really good. In fact, you have to be so good at playing an asshole, the fans go, "Well, I think behind the scenes, he must be a massive asshole." Baron Corbin, he does that so well. It also adds some fuel to the fire as to why Alexa Bliss was added into that mix, because the audience had been desperate for something like that for ages, and now all I hear is people going, "Well, they're clearly just going to take inspiration from the Joker and Harley Quinn." I'm like, why are you moaning about that? I say hell flubbing yeah. And if you do that right and apply it properly, I tell you, it will start reaching out to far more people than just watch wrestling. And as for Braun, I don't know, he'll go around, he'll scream a lot, "Oh, I'm not ready with you," or "done with you," and he'll look at his hands, and then he'll go pull some weeds from around his house. Because like I say, recently he's been dressed like a gardener and I don't know why. Zooming back to Roman too, I like to think that maybe he's now been put in a position where he's able to control his own narrative, much like the Hulk Hogans, the Rocks, the Stone Colds, and of course the John Cenas. Now that is a privilege that should be given to more people, but we can't worry about that right now. And maybe somebody pitched this to Reigns and he was like, "Well, it's okay, but why don't we do this and why don't we do that?" And being able to protect your persona, well, look how well it worked for all those guys I just mentioned. It's why extending that Jey Uso feud and ensuring it went longer than a month was so important, because if you don't mind, jump into my DeLorean and let's go back to Hell in a Cell 2020. Now you remember the Hell in a Cell match they had. What did they really do in terms of moves? Not a lot. And in fact, if someone said to me, "Hey Simon, describe it," I would go, "Well, they kind of just talk to each other a lot." But even with that, it still rocked and it still made all the sense in the world because you understood what was going on and you could finally see what the hell was going in Roman Reigns' head as he absolutely lost the plot. And I still would have enjoyed a 4-way Hell in a Cell match, especially because it would have separated it from the other stipulations on the card. But that would have just been so WWE. And I know, Simon, it is WWE, but I like them trying things different, and Roman versus Uso was absolutely that. Hopefully this means WWE as a promotion is finally going to be more flexible and take some more risks. Although, just as an aside, remember Chad Gable on SmackDown? Do you remember he came out and said, "I'm not gonna be Shorty G anymore, I'm back to being Chad Gable"? And then on next week's show, we didn't even see him. And the reason for that is because he was allowed to have this transformation because creative didn't know what else to do. So they didn't have a story there. It may not be some big push, it can always change, but right now, well, it just made me damn sad. It's like being given a biscuit only to find out that it's death poison. I don't even know what death poison is, but I think the reason it really got me down is I think I finally got to the point where I'm like, WWE's not going to do anything with Gable. They don't see him in the same way I do, even though Kurt Angle's always proved what you can do. I really hope I'm wrong. But I certainly am a fan of all these changes. If it doesn't mean we get Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan sooner, then you can sign me up for that as well. And yeah, really, who wanted to see Braun, Bray, and Roman do anything else? They've done stuff in the past. We've kind of seen it, even if it was the old version of Bray Wyatt. And Roman and Braun did all their stuff in 2016. I actually think we should give a salute to WWE on this one, because they made the right call. And look, what everybody wants is now a massive match at WrestleMania where it is the Tribal Chief versus The Rock. And while I can't see that happening till 2022 at the earliest because of the global pandemic, now that I know we are able to shift and shake as it makes sense, well, the future should be a hell of a lot brighter. In other news I found interesting about changing plans, Zelina Vega also admitted there was ideas on the table to team her up with real-life husband Aleister Black and insert them all into a program with none other than Andrade. All of this came up from the mind of Paul Heyman, which is why it never happened. But basically, the US title was going to be in play, and Zelina Vega was going to be like, what am I going to do? Because Aleister Black was going to feud with Andrade, so it was going to be like, do I go with the man I love, or do I go with the man who I have a business interest in? This means that WWE would be blurring the lines, but also admitting that the character of Aleister Black is in a relationship, and I was like, is that something you would want from a dude like that? Like, I'm aware that he's human. I don't think he's an alien or anything like that, but would it make him less of a person, more of a person? I really don't know. I suppose it would all come down to how it was presented, but I'm devastated this didn't happen, because what are Aleister Black and Andrade doing now? Andrade couldn't even get drafted, which means in the world of kayfabe, he's just wandering around backstage at WWE at the moment. Can I be on your show? And Anna Pierce goes no. Then he turns to the other show, can I be on your show? And William Regal goes no. The poor guy's in limbo. And we didn't really pay off anything with Angel Garza either. And now he's just walking around trying to give roses to everyone. I think it's a shame we didn't do this. Talking of Heyman too, he was the main reason the Street Profits got put on Raw. He saw them down in NXT and thought, we gotta get those guys up on here, which is good. They've been smashing it lately. I do kind of hope that WWE rebuilds its tag team division soon so we don't just see Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura versus a Lucha House Party anymore. And I know they're on different brands now, but when has that ever stopped World Wrestling Entertainment? The answer is never. How did we get... This is so negative. I didn't mean to be a negative Nancy. Go Roman Reigns! Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you think about Roman Reigns. Where do you want to see him go next? Let's take The Rock off the table, try and be creative. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching. And also, if we go back to this four-way idea, who the hell was going to take the pin? Roman Reigns wasn't. He's the Universal Champion. He's going to be the Universal Champion for a while. You can't pin Braun for a while because he's meant to be a monster. We all know what we should do with The Fiend that we don't do. So does that mean that Jey Uso was going to get pinned? Or are you just going to put Sheamus in there for some reason? He's going to turn him and go, oh fella, I want your title. And then 1, 2, 3. That would have sucked. Here, we saw Jey Uso lose, but in a fabulous way, and it actually made his character better and probably started the bloodline, which is going to be Roman Reigns' new group. That is all the thumbs in the world. If I had a third thumb, that would be up there too. That sounds way bad. I will see you soon.